Edward Bardes joins us this time around on Author's Corner here on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. His book, Vasquez Private Eye, A Fable of Murder and the Unknown Truth. This is right up my alley and many of yours as well. You can get the book, by the way, I'll just say it at the top, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever great books are sold. So first of all, Edward, thanks for hopping on with us.
My pleasure.
What led to you writing this book? Where did it all start?
Well, I first came up with the original idea when I was in 6th grade. I created the characters as a sort of exploration of kind of the person that I was and different aspects of my own personality. As I went through middle school and high school, I started fleshing out the idea more and more, and eventually I came up with what would become the final version when I was in high school. Growing up, I was obsessed with true crime documentaries and seeing what crime investigations looked like. And I was also got into studying aviation when I was in high school. And I also took a lot of inspiration from books that were assigned reading in my high school English classes. In particular, they were To Kill a Mockingbird, Macbeth, Jekyll and Hyde, and The Great Gatsby.
So those books have something in common with your book. We're talking about plot and characters, right? And by mentioning those books, that was an influence on, for sure, and you're saying that, on you writing Vasquez Private Eye. Did you ever think you would come up with the story, kind of toss it around in your head and then actually follow through and have it published? Because lots of people talk about books and they have ideas, but they never actually get to that next step. So you have to feel, I would say, probably pretty proud that you were able to do that, right?
Yeah, it was quite an accomplishment.
And for you, in looking at the character, you look at Vasquez, tell us about Vasquez. And of course, four of the closest friends, there's Alex, Richard, Shannon, Zelda. But tell us about Vasquez, Johnson Vasquez.
So he's the protagonist and narrator of the book. And he's essentially my unchanged self in a way. And his friends are basically distillations of different aspects of my own personality, from the fun-loving guy to the sports nuts to the kind of insecure and also the moral compass holding everything together.
Yeah, so you say Johnson Vasquez is just a compilation of aspects of yourself.
That's right.
And it's interesting because for people listening, Johnson Vasquez is a policeman, but he has a troubled past. And you talk about that. Of all things, he survives a plane crash. You mentioned your interest in aviation, and then what happened after that disaster and what he realizes and as he moves forward. And then you talk about he and his partner Zelda, who are working on a series of these court cases that go really, really wrong. And it's interesting, you can see the crime, of course, the crime influence there. Tell us more about this story. I've just kind of told a little bit about, tell the listeners more about it.
Well, like you said, it starts with Johnson and Zelda investigating a series of court cases that have gone wrong under mysterious circumstances. And at the start, they're going around trying to follow any leads that they can find. And then as they're investigating, Johnson finds a cryptic note, and then within an hour, someone is murdered.
Wow. Within an hour, someone's murdered. Quick. Oh, that was quick. All right. So when people read the book, what do you hope they take away? That it's just good writing. It gets you on the edge of your seat. It makes you think. It's got all these different elements that you bring into it. What do you hope?
I'm hoping that people really start to think about just what kind of effect that seemingly small actions can have later down the road.
Yeah, because we can certainly see that in the characters, and we can see it in the main character, meaning Johnson Vasquez and Zelda Thomson. And I mentioned a couple of others like Alex and Richard and Shannon. Tell us about the friendships they have.
So Alex is the owner of his own novelty shop. It sells all sorts of fun things. And during the night, he patrols the streets with the store serving as a base of operations, so to speak. Richard is an aspiring baseball athlete who hopes to make it into the major leagues one day. And Shannon is a forensic chemist who was a student of Johnson's mother when she was studying.
Wow. So interesting that they had that friendship, they continued that friendship. And now will there be a sequel to this?
There will be.
And where do you take the sequel? Because we're not going to tell everyone everything, which again, you can get Vasquez Private Eye on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But what are you thinking about with the sequel?
So the sequel is already finished, and I'm in the process of getting it published right now. But it basically follows Johnson some years down the road after the first book is over, as he tries to come to terms with what's transpired over the course of the first book.
For you, was it fun to take what happened in the first book and then come up with the sequel, especially because so much of that first book was developed in very early years in your life?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that you hope to continue writing, and who knows where these characters will take you, because who says you have to stop at a sequel even?
Right.
Yeah. And you get that sense, the sense that you left the door open for that, for sure. When you write, well, like especially when you wrote the sequel, what was that process like? Were the characters kind of rattling around in your head, or did you have a process for that, or how'd that plot development, which is obviously heavy with you, thinking about characters and plot development, how'd all that happen?
Well, I wanted to write a sequel that focused on Alex, and I kept it, I put together some ideas, and eventually I was able to come up with a plot for the second book, and once that was settled, I was able to start the writing process for that book.
Yeah, very cool. How about as we all know this, and it's good you keep it short and sweet, when you look at covers of books, the first one, it's clear because we talk about the fact that he's a police officer. I mentioned he survives a plane crash, so that completely makes sense to me. When you're developing that, I mean, what was that like trying to flush that out, even though, you can ship it off to other people, but you still have to have an idea, a concept for the book cover?
Yeah, so the cover was basically intended to illustrate how the crash that Johnson survived is following him continuously, even as he tries to escape those memories.
Yeah, and you can see that, absolutely. And so now we've got this book and the sequel, which eventually we'll see that come out for sure. Do you hope to keep writing books? Like I kind of mentioned, I was alluding to that, maybe even different characters, different stories?
I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where your writing takes you. And this is really strong, and it has a lot of twists and turns, and it'll keep you on the edge of your seat, that's for sure. Edward Bardes, thank you so much for coming on Author's Corner. We appreciate it, and the best of luck.
Yep, likewise.